Have you ever stopped to wonder how the whole world somehow ended up listening to the same music, watching the same movies, or even wearing the same brands? It's pretty wild when you think about it. Well, the story of how our culture went global is this incredible journey through the last century, packed with conflict, creativity, and connection. So let's dive in and see how it all happened.
I mean, really think about it. That song you just streamed, the show you're planning to binge tonight, even the sneakers on your feet, none of that happened by accident. They are all here because of this massive, century-long story of cultural exchange. So the big question is, how on earth did we get here?
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 5 parts. We'll start with how we broke old molds, then we'll look at the pop culture machine that got built. After that, we'll dive into the American cultural exports, how the world responded, and finally, we'll land right here in our super connected world of today. Okay, so our story kicks off in the early 20th century, and this was a time of just massive upheaval. The chaos of this era didn't just redraw maps on a globe, it completely shattered old ways of thinking about art, society, and who we are.
You know, the first half of the century was just defined by brutal conflict. We're talking world wars, empires clashing, and then the huge ideological split of the Cold War. But then, as the century started to wind down, something new began to take shape: cooperation. We saw the birth of organizations like the UN and the EU, and that laid a whole new groundwork for global exchange.
And you could see all this chaos reflected perfectly in the art world. I mean, traditional art was all about making things look real, right? Nice and neat. But new movements like Cubism just smashed reality into a million abstract pieces. Writers started ditching clear stories for this messy internal stream of consciousness, and composers began making this jarring atonal music, basically sound without a familiar tune. It was a total rebellion against the old way of doing things.
And you know, out of all this change came these powerful new voices. Take the Harlem Renaissance. It was this incredible explosion of African-American art, books, and music. And its signature sound, jazz, it didn't just stay in Harlem. No way. It crossed oceans and became a truly international language. So, while the world of high art was breaking apart, a whole new force was rising up. This one was powered by technology, and it could reach millions of regular people all at once. This was the beginning of the pop culture machine.
And this is where we get what we call popular culture. And this is a huge deal. It's a fundamental shift, because culture was no longer just for the rich or the super-educated elite. It was now for everybody. The music, the movies, the tastes of everyday people, they were about to go global.
And this happened in waves. First up was the radio in the 1920s, piping comedy shows and music right into people's living rooms. Then, during the really tough times of the Great Depression, movies gave people an escape. And then, television. After World War II, TV just supercharged everything, beaming this new consumer lifestyle into homes, all paid for by commercials.
Just think about how powerful this new media was. A character like Charlie Chaplin's Little Tramp didn't need to say a single word to be understood. He became a global icon, a symbol of the little guy's struggles that people got, whether they were in London or Tokyo.
So, as popular culture got bigger and bigger, one country's influence really started to tower over everyone else's: the United States. Its cultural footprint was about to get massive, but, as you can imagine, that didn't happen without a bit of controversy.
This whole phenomenon got a name: Americanization. Basically, it's the idea that the world was consuming American movies, music, and brands way faster than America was consuming culture from anywhere else. It really felt like a one-way street for influence.
And to get a sense of the sheer scale of this, just look at this number. In the early 2000s, it was estimated that 300 million people in China were learning English. That's a staggering number. English became the language of global business and culture, and that was largely driven by American and British influence. But all this dominance started to create a backlash. Critics from all over the world began to get worried that American consumerism, which some of them called a throwaway culture, was actually wiping out their own local traditions and values in favor of this constant cycle of newer, cheaper, more disposable stuff.
But, and this is a really big but, globalization was never truly a one-way street. As American culture was spreading, so were these incredibly powerful and unique cultural forms from every other corner of the globe. It created a much richer and, a much more complicated exchange.
For example, take Bollywood. India's amazing film industry started churning out movies that found huge audiences, and not just in South Asia, but all across the Middle East, Africa, and beyond. It became a global cultural powerhouse all on its own.
Or how about Japanese anime? Its totally unique visual style and really complex stories created this massive global fan base, and it ended up influencing everything from Hollywood blockbusters to cartoons in the West.
And in the world of music, sounds were crossing borders like never before. Reggae music, born in Jamaica, was carried to the world stage by artists like the legendary Bob Marley in the 70s. Its rhythm became a global anthem for peace and resistance.
And of course, more recently, the explosion of Korean pop, or K-pop, really shows you the power of modern tech. It was fueled by streaming sites like YouTube, and it became this absolute global sensation, proving that a massive cultural wave can start literally anywhere in the world.
And that brings us right up to today. We now live in a world that's defined by instant connection, a world where business, our communities, and even our rivalries all play out on a truly global stage.
I mean, just think about your own life. Brands like Apple and Nike are known everywhere. We can buy pretty much anything from anywhere on sites like Amazon or Alibaba. Billions of us stop what we're doing to watch the Olympics and the World Cup, and athletes like Michael Jordan or LeBron James are icons who are bigger than just their sport.
Our social lives are global too, but there's a fascinating twist. You've got platforms like Facebook and Twitter that created this open, global town square, but then you have countries like China that built their own separate online worlds with really strict government control. It's kind of created a digital version of a divided world.
And, even something as deeply personal as faith has been shaped by all this. While most people in the world still identify with a religion, some faiths, like the Hare Krishna movement, has spread all over the globe. And at the exact same time, there's a growing number of people, especially younger people, who don't connect with any religion at all. So, here we are. We've gone from a world of mostly separate cultures to one that is deeply, and let's be honest, sometimes messily, all tangled up together. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to chew on. In this world that's always on, always connected, what's next? What new music, what new art, what new idea is just waiting around the corner to become the next thing that changes us all?